I found out my husband came home late from a concert with his best friend, and she confessed to having feelings for him. What I uncovered next made my blood run cold. It all started innocently enough. My husband, Jake, and his best friend, Sarah, had planned to go to a concert. I couldn't make it because of work, but I trusted them completely. They had been friends for years, long before we even met. I always admired their bond, never feeling threatened or insecure about it. That night, Jake came home much later than expected. His usual warmth was replaced by an unsettling coldness, and he barely spoke a word before heading straight to bed. I tried to brush off my unease, blaming it on exhaustion, but something felt wrong. The next morning, Sarah called me, her voice trembling. She confessed that after the concert, she told Jake she had feelings for him. My heart sank. I didn't know what to feel, betrayed, confused, angry. Jake and I had always been honest with each other, or so I thought. Desperate for answers, I decided to snoop. Jake had always been meticulous about his phone, but that day he left it unattended. My hands shook as I scrolled through his messages. There were countless texts between him and Sarah, but one stood out. It was from the night of the concert. "Jake, I can't keep pretending anymore. I love you," Sarah had texted. Jake's response was what chilled me to the bone. "Sarah, we can't do this. We'll ruin everything. But I can't deny I feel something too." My mind raced, trying to piece together what had happened. I confronted Jake, and he admitted they talked about it at length, but insisted nothing physical had happened. He swore he loved me and would never jeopardize our marriage. I wanted to believe him, but my trust was shattered. Over the next few weeks, Jake's behavior grew stranger. He was distant, often lost in thought, and would leave the house without explanation. One night, he came home with a blank expression, almost as if he were in a trance. I demanded to know where he had been. His response sent chills down my spine. "I was with Sarah," he said in a monotone voice. "We were just talking. She needed someone." Unable to bear the uncertainty, I followed him one night. He drove to an old park where Sarah was waiting. They sat on a bench, speaking in hushed tones. I crept closer, hiding behind a tree, straining to hear their conversation. "I can't stop thinking about you, Jake," Sarah whispered. "But if we can't be together, maybe we can make her disappear." My blood ran cold. I stumbled back, snapping a twig underfoot. They both turned toward the noise, and I ran to my car, heart pounding. I locked the doors, hands shaking as I dialed the police. The police dismissed my story as paranoia, but I knew what I heard. I confronted Jake, and his reaction was terrifying. He laughed, a cold, hollow sound that didn't belong to the man I married. "You're losing it," he said, eyes devoid of emotion. "Sarah and I were joking. You're overreacting." But I knew the truth. I could see it in his eyes. The man I married was gone, replaced by someone I no longer recognized. Someone who might be capable of anything. I packed my bags that night and left. As I drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Sarah's words echoed in my mind, and I knew I had to stay vigilant. I was no longer safe in the life I once knew.